themselves, and while they are not. But that's not true. You got to remember that even influencers are also investing in these projects to some extent. Satoshi VM is an exception. They this was not how it was meant to be done. This is probably a scam, and then they have structured it in a way just to benefit their close friends. Most influencers didn't even get to invest in it, or even if they did, they invested $500, $1,000. So if you leave that aside, and if you really look at the problem here, the problem is the community is not aware which projects influencers are being paid for and which ones they're investing in. I think the responsibility comes to the influencers here to actually explain to the community, I'm an advisor here. Every project that I'm advising, I'm publicly saying I'm an advising. If somebody is advising, they're mostly being paid for some tokens against the effort that they're providing. And when they're investing, most of the time, they need to be clear that, am I investing as a KOL round? Their projects are defining investor rounds. So this information is actually already public for most of the community to go and see. You can see KOL rounds, what vesting they have, and what price they have. What the public cannot see is, when was this KOL round raised? As out of good faith, most people listening to the spaces, you should think that the KOL round is being raised a few days or a few weeks before listing at best. So I think that's the main issue here, right? Like, is to explain to the community here how to understand what is really happening. And what is really happening here is that there are good projects that are raising VC rounds, and that they're raising VC, and they're actually building those projects. They've been building over the last many years. If you look at example of Bitcoin layer twos, where SAVM and Sovereign, all these guys are from, Tap Protocol, for example, is a project that's been building for over a year. I invested just a few weeks ago, but I was able to do only a $15,000 investment. That's a very small investment. And in exchange for that, I did commit to them that I'm going to promote them, that I'm going to talk to my community about them, because I believe that they're actually building. I believe in them. I put my own $15,000 that I earned myself on the project. Yes, I got a benefit that I was able to invest close to the listing time, but I'm providing work against that. What's the other option? The other option, the project goes to marketing guys and says, here's $15,000 cash. You pay these guys, and then they don't promote, which is even worse off. So I think the main issue here is just like the community needs to understand how this game is being played, what is actually happening, and then learn from that. I think do your own research, right? That's what everybody says. I think that's what
I,
really people need to focus on.
I was gonna add, like,
Like,
I just want to add one more thing. Like, one strategy we do, Evan and Yago, I know you've had your hand up for a while. Go to you afterwards. But one strategy that we do, not sure if anyone else on stage does the same thing. So obviously now, because of the shows that I do and all that, we get a lot of influencer offers. Same as what you mentioned, influencer deals. We used to invest a lot more. Invest all our projects that we had earlier in the last bull market were all investments. This time around, we're getting offers as influencer allocations. The way we do is we go to them, we're like, so if they give us a big unlock at the beginning, we're like, cool, we're happy to get a bigger allocation, but at a smaller unlock or no unlock. So then the project feels more comfortable. Like, cool, these guys don't really want to dump as soon as they launch, because most influencers do. They have bills to pay, or they like short-term cash. Most influencers don't put them all in one basket. So what we do is, because we're mainly investors, we say, first thing we say is like, hey, we want a big allocation. We can offer you more stuff. Want a much bigger allocation. Instead of 20K, we want 100K allocation, but no unlock. So the project will be more comfortable. And then we're like, then they offer, cool, we could do 80K. Then we go to the next stage. We're like, all right, cool. You give us an 80K allocation instead of 20K, no unlock, perfect, seems fair. We'll do X, Y, Z, come on the spaces, on the YouTube show, and all the other stuff. We do some marketing for them. And then we offer to write a check as well. And we've done this recently with some of the projects launching now, and it's working really well. We're like, cool, you gave us an 80K allocation. How about we write a 50K check and get a 200K allocation? So then we're putting our money where our mouth is. Now the project is treating us as a VC, which is what we mainly started off as, treating us as a VC. That also has a massive media exposure. And the main way we make our money is through incubation. That's what we've done for 2 years now. So then what we try to do afterwards is say, we'll give you all the media if you work with us and get incubated, and then we get a percentage of tokens. We're no longer discussing a dollar figure. We're like, hey, give us 2, 4, 5, 6, 7% of tokens. Generally, it's about 3 to 5% of tokens for incubation and media exposure.
The problem is not that.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Murray, the problem is not with people like yourself. You are already obviously a public figure. You are already very public with your name. The problems are really coming when anonymous profiles and anonymous teams, like Satoshi VM was mostly backed by anonymous influencers people don't know who they are. and then who was really behind those profiles, and then it was run by a team who's also not willing to be who's behind the project. I think that's where the problem comes with the people listening on the spaces, the people you follow, the people you look up to. You can always reply on a tweet if you're promoting this. What price did you buy your token for? At that point, that influencer is liable to reply to you. This is the price that he bought with what vesting. A lot of time, people's DM like tweet on my post like, "What did you buy?" I'm always so happy to answer because I'm not hiding. I know that I'm not scamming anybody. I'm not running away from anything. Coach is a public person. The problem is coming when anonymous influencers are being hyped up and they're shilling projects by anonymous teams, and then nobody knows where the money is going. It's going into pockets of few people. I think that's where the problem really lies, and that's what we need to fix as a community here. And that's what we need to focus on. That people like Kyle, Coach, everybody knows who people are on the spaces. The anonymous people who shill Satoshi VM, the anonymous team, they're nowhere to be found. Where are they right now? They took all the money and they're not on the spaces. So that's really the problem is. Mario, nobody's questioning you. We know that you're providing the value. Guys, remember one thing in crypto and in Web3, value is what gets paid for. If you're able to bring value to any project, you will be able to get an allocation or be able to invest a few days before listing on a better terms than somebody else. That's what really comes down to what value you bring to the table. And I think when people are
Are
become
you
when
dropped out, Evan?
anonymous people start trying
Oh,
to
you're
come
back.
into the picture. Yeah, sorry. I'm getting a call. So that's why. Sorry. That's where the problem comes. Is that I think that we as a community need to question these people that we look up to, and then ask them, what price did you buy this token at? What are you getting paid? And Twitter is great for that. And I think congrats to Mari for making this stuff happen. Twitter is great to get the real stuff out there, to get what's the butt of the facts out there. I think that's great for all influencers. They can't really hide as long as the community members keep asking them. And I think that's what, as a community here, is that people need to ask the hard question: who's getting paid what? Nobody wants to hide. I don't want to hide what I paid for a token. I'm happy to share that I made this
Mm,
X. But it's like the problem is when anonymous influencers, anonymous projects come
yeah,
into the picture and they come and rug the community, and that's what everybody gets hurt.
yeah. Toby,
Yeah,
Yago. Go ahead, Toby.
y- yeah, I think there's a lot of people on here listening and going, man, like, I don't want anything to do with an IDO. And my suggestion here's like, okay, a lot of people are going to get rich off this, but there's a lot of people that are like, what should I do? And my suggestion is, I mean, look no further than Satoshi VM, right? So it opened the day, it went to like $13, $11.50. Now it's at, down to $3.42. Another one is Toka. That's another, all these BRC20 tokens. Okay, so you have it opened the day at just over a cent and a half. Now it's like 0.003 cents. So, I mean, if you're feeling helpless in this space, and this is, kind of my whole goal in creating our YouTube channel and all that stuff is to help the average person, not to really help super rich people. But,
But
we want to
but
help
Toby,
people.
what does the average person do? Because what's happening in every bull market is that they get dumped on. It's like all the VCs, all the influencers get the early allocations, the token launches, and then they just dump that unlock. And who's buying is that average investor.
I mean, the average investor is probably buying the top and then getting dumped on. So my suggestion is that they wait a little bit, wait till it decreases 50% or more, and then maybe give it a go. And in the long run, they're probably going to be fine because the bull market, alt season is going to happen and then everything's going to pump.
Yeah, but I'd agree there. I think looking at the unlock schedule of a project, Kyle, and then Yago, I'd love you to jump in on this one. But looking at the unlock schedule of a project, I think that's important as well.
Yeah, just real quick. I mean, it's pretty simple. A good project, and anonymous or not, and Evan, I don't think that anonymous influencers really hold much clout, so their word doesn't really propagate much anyway. But and in Satoshi, there was big ones, but oftentimes you'll look at this, you'll look at the different fundraising rounds in a project, and you'll see that the one that is typically right before the public sale will be called the strategic round. And that is for bringing in strategic partners, and KOLs are often called strategic partners. Now, there should never be a massive unlock. And if you ever look at any project that I'm involved with, every KOL that ever comes into a project is always involved, has vesting for at least 18 to 24 months. It's the only way to align long-term that they're going to do something, and that they don't get too many tokens up front, right? And that gives a lot of time for the product to actually, for the team to ship product, for them to actually get traction. And there's nothing wrong with, I mean, that's the most effective PR in this space. That's the most effective way to market a project. And when it comes down to what Toby was just saying with this pump like crazy, again, this is all being engineered in a way that is artificial. You know, everything about Satoshi VM was just fugazi. The market cap that they got, the price they were able to buy in at, it was, you know what, that was to make the launchpad look good. Like it was like, oh, this launchpad is going to be continuously putting out exponential gains, so everyone should put their attention there, right? Instead of that, we should be looking, all of us who are launching projects on a public sale basis, what is the fair valuation that we should be offering this to the public at? So it doesn't do some sort of insane multiple, right? I mean, this is, like I was saying at the beginning of the show, this is going to be the most interesting challenge marketing paid ignition, paid network versus every other launchpad this bull run, because we will be looking to value projects, closer to the actual market value of what it is, and not super low. So, and another thing that does is when people do have big unlocks, or there is unlocks, it's not a race to see who can dump first on each other. That's a horrible mentality. You know, this is it's day one for these projects to prove themselves to the world. You know, if it's a good project that has staying power, the thing should appreciate in time, especially this early into a bull run. So for me, there's no problem with getting influencers involved. The way that we've built paid network, everybody can get involved at these, not just whitelisted exclusive people who have to win a whitelist spot. And so there'll be no need to hide any names of people who get into these things, because it's open to everybody. And valuations are reasonable, investing terms are reasonable, and that's it. Problem solved.
Yeah, go ahead.
Mario, while we've been talking, something funny has happened. So Satoshi VM, who refused to come on your spaces, while we've been talking, have launched what looks like a coordinated campaign to try and discredit me. So I'm blocked for most of this, but I've been getting links from people, and they're spreading a whole bunch of lies in a coordinated attempt across a lot of different threads. So, this is the level of integrity we're dealing with. What I can do is I can talk about this topic from the perspective of a builder, and I can say, anyone who's building in crypto has a really difficult problem, because we're basically locked out of all of the traditional ways that you would try to let people know about what you're building. We can't advertise, we can't do standard marketing. It's just not allowed. And so, at Sovereign, we're very proud that we've been building now for 3 years. We've built the largest Bitcoin DeFi protocol in the world. We've managed to get tens of thousands of users and do billions in trades. And we've done it without advertising, but also because we were scared about exactly these things without influence.
Yago, just quick question. I did bring up
Sure.
Murtaza, who's an advisor and I think investor, and Murtaza will correct me if I'm getting this wrong. So Murtaza's from Maven Capital in Satoshi VM. Again, I could be wrong, so he's just connecting now. But I'm curious, what type of coordinated attack are you facing while the space was going on?
I don't know exactly, because it's a bunch of threads, most of which I can't see, and I've been on this space, so I don't really know what is being said. But I do know that they're claiming that we've been trying to organize some kind of coordinated attack against them or something, that the claims around ZK rollups are not true, and but without any real evidence. But one thing that they've latched onto, which is really interesting, is this. So after, over these 3 years that we've been building, we've never used influencers. Pump has come in, and there was like a vote in the community. We do everything transparently to let him come in and make an investment. CryptoDog, they're both still holding their tokens, and there was no obligation on them. But when last week happened, suddenly we got this huge influx of influencers reaching out to us, many of whom were actually Satoshi VM influencers. Now, maybe there was like some kind of Scooby-Doo sting that they were trying to organize to try and get us to say, "Oh yeah, sure, we'll work with us," and then say, "Ha ha, you see, they work with influencers." But we actually don't think there's any problem with working with influencers so long as it's done transparently. And so what we're trying to do now exactly is figure out what is the most transparent way to do this. We need to be able to vet.
Yeah, Murtaza, can you request again? It's just glitching because I had a couple of questions for you, if you can come up. But yeah, sorry, go ahead, Yago.
So what we've decided is the following. First of all, we turned it into a debate inside of our community. Our community decided to approve trying some experiments with influences, including some of the influences from Satoshi VM, because the feeling was they were, their audience was not getting the right information. Second, once we had made the transparent thing of making the decision with our own community, our goal is to organize, and we think as soon as next week we can start a campaign which is transparent, where it needs to be transparent in two ways. First of all, we will say who we're working with, and they need to say they're working with us and what they got. And then the third thing is that we need to we're not going to be reaching out cold to anyone. We're only going to work with people who seem to already know about the project, or interested in the project, and with it.
Murtaza, are you there?
Yeah, sorry, I was told that the spaces was not going to happen, so I'm not actually at home. But Matt,
all
like,
good,
kind of DM. Sorry.
Yeah,
So, like, can
I
you hear
appreciate
me?
you coming on. Yeah, we can. I was gonna I was planning not to talk at all about Satoshi VM because they couldn't join, but I thought we'll give a quick update, and we kind of moved on from it until Yago brought it up, and I saw in the audience. Are you an investor or an advisor to Satoshi VM?
I'm actually mainly an investor, but I was like brought on for a small advisory role, considering they wanted some help with marketing. So, like, being totally transparent about this, and I have already disclosed this a lot of times. So once again, if everyone doesn't know that, so I am one of the like major investors in Satoshi VM, if you're gonna say it like that, even though the like allocation was not as much. But yeah, so basically I'm an investor and a small advisory role which I had for Satoshi VM.
What's
And the
the?
fun,
You go
yeah.
ahead. Now I was gonna ask, what's your allocation and what was your unlock? And then would love to know the allocations and unlocks given to influencers.
Allocation was similar to like literally everyone. Like everyone had the same like unlock. So I basically had the same vesting for as like
What was
every one of
the
them.
what was that vesting? I think it was like 50% unlock with, and what size allocation?
If you want to say, it was like 5,000 something. Yeah.
Oh, it's a very small allocation. So you had $5,000 allocation, and was it a 50% unlock?
Yeah, it was.
And did all influencers get a $5,000 allocation?
No, it was not like that for every influencers. It was like depending on how much value they're adding and basis of their socials. So yeah, being totally transparent about this, you can literally ask me anything. I'm more than
Yeah, I'm
happy to
asking.
like answer
Yeah,
everything.
I appreciate it. Did all the influencers were they required to disclose they were investors or no?
Yeah.
They
Since day one, the first thing everyone was told was like, if you're marketing a product, okay, if the basic idea is if you're getting influencers in any project, you want them to drive users to the product. So since day one, the first thing everyone was instructed was you have to actually just mention the product and disclose that you are investors in the project. And the first thing was the easiest thing to actually get people on is like driving them to testnet is with an airdrop, which is actually planned. And that's actually something that's going to happen. Every influencer was only tasked one thing, which was to bring testnet users, and that is it.
how much? So how much did you invest total? $5,000, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just writing some notes. And then how much of that did you sell on day one? What percentage of the allocation sold on day one on launch?
It was actually mentioned on Zad's post as well, and I actually like went ahead and literally even asked him. The whole allocation was basically like 15% of what I had, and I sold it over 6 hours. Again, being totally transparent about this.
15,
And
sorry,
if
15 or
you're gonna ask
50?
me reason,
What?
15,
15.
15.
15% unlock?
Yeah, so you're gonna ask me what I did with my allocation. The first thing was I sold like 15% of my allocation, which is like quite kind of obvious because the multiples was so high, and I donated like 1,000 tokens to Zach as well for his work, and I literally told him that you have my address now, and like you always had it. So if you are just like gonna find anything shady about it, you can more than I'm more than happy to like mention that, but I'm not gonna apologize for taking profits on 15% of my total allocation
Nothing.
after the.
My position. I know some people disagree. I think my position is if you disclose it, there's nothing wrong with it. And how much was that worth? That 15% unlock. How much you sell it for?
I don't quite remember. It should be like 70, 75 something. I'm not really sure exact number. I sold it in ETH, so.
Nice. So about $75,000. That's not bad.
Yeah.
Evan, what do you think? Go ahead. Go ahead,
Mario, listen to what we're even saying. It's like Murtaza. It's like people need to get paid for their work, and some of these projects that do fair launches, they don't have stable coin, and they're just paying in their token, which is fine. Imagine going, like, if you're like Nike and you went to an influencer and that influencer got paid and now they have to like validate their position for selling their USD, and they're like, oh, I donated some too. Like they're like feeling bad about
No,
that.
no, no.
It's
I'm
like,
not. One second. I'm really sorry. I did not donate to him because I was feeling bad. That's the first thing I told Zach as well.
I know,
If you want
but
to investigate
Martaza,
me, do it. I don't care.
you did have to, you did say it, right? So it's like, in some way, it's like people do cover off, and I'm not pointing you out. There's a lot of people that do this, but like, I think the big problem here before, like in this bull market versus the last one, Mario, is that we didn't have the tooling, right? You'd have like some sort of Excel spreadsheet with the influencers, like Kyle was saying, that were part of like a strategic round or a creator influencer round. And then there would be, you would send an allocation, or like if you're a big influencer, you would have, like something that could unlock or vest over certain time periods. Now there's other tools out there, like even like Sablier. Like it's not unlocking each month. It's like you can stream the tokens in a very small percentage over a certain amount of time. But I would always expect as an investor to say, hey, anything that's unlocked is going to get
But
sold
what do you think?
by
But
anyone
Joe,
that has
I
it.
want to ask you on Radar, like, what is, from what Murtaza's said so far and done so far, what is it? What would you disagree with? Because it's like, for me, it looks more like hate the game, not the player.
I would say he has the right to sell all of his tokens. Like, he was paid for his services. He has the right to sell everything.
Radar?
I think the
No,
issue
no,
comes
no.
again, right, what I
Sorry. I
said,
just want to
right?
ask
That if
one thing.
if
I'm
if
sorry.
people are selling tokens, they need to be clear that they are not these tokens are not being paid to them because they're investing. At no point, let's be clear, none of the influencers in Satoshi VM are actually investing. The problem comes is when they say they're actually investing. Murtaza here is not being paid those tokens because he was investing. It was structured in a way where it made it seem like that. Nobody invests. Murtaza, when did you invest this? You invested less than a month before you sold them. Nobody invests with a month long time horizon. They don't think I'm going to invest now. I'm going to sell the tokens for 15x like you sold in less than a month away. So I think that's the main issue that's really coming here again,
I do
right?
agree with
So
I do agree with the last point, though, that it is up to the project unilaterally makes a decision on what the vesting schedule should be. And I face this from every single angle, from a project founder, from an influencer, from a fund manager, from everything. And in the early days, I understand how people like, what? They sold their tokens. How could they do that? Man, it's you, the project, who decided when they were allowed to do that. And they have no obligation. You don't know we don't know what their financial situation is, and you don't know what their strategy is. And really, that is why projects need to take careful consideration into these vesting schedules, because they should account for the fact that, and I've been talking, I also advise projects too on KOL strategy. And I tell them, I say, guys, we do KOL strategies in seasons, right? And so that's why when we bring on KOLs for Paid Network or Commonwealth or whatever, they're there for basically 24 months, and then we figure out ways to recycle tokens through the economy. And then after their job is done, and if they still have them, then that's up to them. But if they've sold all of theirs along the way, that's also up to them. I've never gotten mad at any of the paid influencers who sold their tokens when they did, right? I mean, how could I get mad at someone for selling paid when it was at $4 or something like that, and then it went all the way down to a penny? Like, so.
But Kyle, do you know why? Do you know why? Sorry to interject
go ahead.
there, but do you know why? Because when they're desperate to raise money, particularly in the bear market, or particularly when it's not well-known projects that kind of not known that they're going to do extremely well, they're desperate for that kind of investment to come in. So because them, they're really desperate for that kind of seed money, private investment, Series A, whatever you want to call it, strategic round. They try to give that, kind of initial strong unlock, 10%, 15, 20. I've heard even some crazy numbers. Why? Because they want to make it as enticing as people that you could de-risk on day one, right? So that's what happens all the time. So they try to make it as enticing. The problem is the minute they raise and the minute they close the raise, they start kind of backing up on their claims and they start really panicking about, on day one, we're going to have a major unlock and we don't have enough liquidity to back it. And now there is a problem. I see that as total, and I agree with Kyle, I see that as total mismanagement, lack of knowledge from the project founders.
I agree. I think would you blame the project, or would you blame the info? So if the project goes in and offers an investor a great deal, and the investor comes, takes the deal, discloses it, and does exactly what, like, hey, we're going to sell our tokens at launch because the multiples are too high, and it's only a small unlock, and the rest is going to be locked over a 2-year period. That's what the project offered us. Do you blame the investor for accepting an investor influence, whatever you want to call them, for accepting the allocation and selling it, or do you blame the project for playing the game the way they did?
Okay,
I think definitely the project. It's definitely the project in the situation. It's definitely not the influencer. I think what really happened here was one or two influencers bought other influencers onboarded, and that's where the value of VCs come in. How long has Satoshi VM been building for? I mean, the GitHub started 2024. So that's the main issue here. Satoshi VM had no VCs who did any due diligence. A bunch of influencers bought on a bunch of other influencers, and they all started shitting the scam. And that's what really happened here. Like, there's actual protocols trying to build a layer 2 on Bitcoin. Like, there's products like that have been out there for a long time, and I think that's the main issue that we're seeing with Satoshi VM was that influencers didn't understand what they were shilling. I don't say I'm not I don't claim I'm a technical guy. I actually depend on VCs to do the technical due diligence, and they have structures, they have people set up in their companies to do all this, right? I mean, we are dependent on them, and that's where the value for VCs come in. On the last spaces, Mac was lighting, what's the value for VCs? That's the value. They actually tell you what is the
Credibility.
project.
Yeah, if you have, we were just meeting a project. We're just meeting a project today. You know who it is? Invested by Pantera. One of the biggest votes of confidence. Hey, Pantera wrote a check. Do you say Pantera doesn't have doesn't bring any credibility? Well, people like us are more willing to write a check after Pantera wrote a check, and that's always the game.
Exactly. We depend on them to check if that team is actually building. I'm not. We can go and bring. That's why every player plays a role in this situation. What happened with Satoshi VM was they removed the VCs. A bunch of influencers decided, let me bring my friends on. Let's all shield this and let's all make money together. And that's why they were selling on a few $100 allocation. They were selling tens of thousands of dollars in less than 2 weeks. I mean, Murtaza, if you
I'm
can tell
sorry,
us, when did you
sorry,
invest?
sorry for interrupting. It was just 2 days ago, like I don't know, maybe a week ago, like a week before launch. Did you not DM me asking that you wanted to invest in Satoshi VM?
Yeah,
But
because I thought it
Matt
was
did
a good
not tell you.
project.
Like
Once I
Matt,
found out it's a
no, no, no,
scam,
sorry, I'm
that's what
sorry,
I'm
sorry.
saying.
I'm
It's
just
actually
asking you one
happened.
thing.
I
You
asked for
literally
an
DM'd
investment
me
because I
that you
thought it
want to
was a real
invest in it,
project.
and Matt
Yes,
told
because I
that
thought it's a
sorry,
real
we cannot
project.
have
If
you.
you told me, okay, Murtaza, based on your link, I also deployed $1.7 million on Manta Network. I put
I'm not
1.7 million on
saying
Manta.
anything.
What
I'm
I'm saying
simply
is you did a
asking you,
wrong
did
thing
you
here. You
DM
did a
me or not? I'm just asking for
Yes,
yes
I
or no,
did because
bro.
I have invested in every project that people promote. I invested in 500 companies. The problem here is you promoted a project and you're still standing by something that's already a scam that everybody
I'm
knows.
not. How is it a
That's what
scam?
I'm.
Just give me one. No, no. You are saying that
How,
influencers dumped on
how long
everyone.
did
Do you
they
have at
start
least
building
one
ago?
on-chain evidence for this? There was liquidity
Yes.
for
How
like
long did
around 12 million. If you give me one on-chain evidence, this was
there's
influencers
also
dumping.
liquidity in pork and all these other meme coins launching. That's the point.
Okay.
Do we want to
And
support these shit coins or do we want to support projects
I'm
actually
simply
building with a
asking you,
long-term
brother,
vision?
do you have any on-chain evidence that any influencer is the reason why this token dumped from $14 to $2
I
when
don't
you
see
know just yesterday, bro, just let me finish, okay?
the
Just
evidence is in the
yesterday,
fact
I
that
was
only people standing up
contacted.
for Satoshi VM are the people who are getting paid. To show me one influencer or somebody who has not been paid, somebody credible, saying that this is a legit project. Why do only people like you who actually got paid tens of thousands of dollars are saying this is a legit project?
How
Show me
am I
somebody with
just standing up
credibility.
for it, bro?
Show me
How am I
somebody.
standing
Show
up
me
from
one
it?
person. Show me one person with credibility that I can trust, that I have faith in, that has said the right thing, saying that this is a project you can stand up for. Show me one
Okay,
person,
you're
because
saying
I'm
that,
willing.
okay, no one's gonna stand
Because
up for
I'm
this,
willing
right?
to find that
So
one person who has
yesterday,
actual
bro, just let
credibility.
me finish. You're not letting me talk.
Go
Yesterday,
ahead.
I was contacted by a Sovereign team member asking me to do paid tweets for shilling Sovereign, and
That's okay because you're an
they told me,
influencer.
bro,
They are
just let me
building for a
finish,
long
bro.
time. They have 2
Bro,
years
let
of a
me
track record.
finish. You're not
They
letting me
have
finish.
2 years of a tap protocol. Also, is us paying
The first
influencers.
thing they told me, like their narrative was to call Satoshi VM a scam and tell that Sovereign is a real product. This was their
So
first thing they told me. So you're telling
okay.
me
So I don't
someone's
want to. No,
tactic
no. So
is,
this could be very
yeah.
well a message from Satoshi VM's own team sending you. Did this
And if
come
I
from
give you
Sovereign's
proof that
profile?
this was not them, then what will you do? Like, this is
Okay. Did
literally
this
their
come from
admin
Sovereign's
of their
profile?
group chat on Telegram doing this. And you're telling
Okay. So
me,
the
so they are having a Satoshi VM guy, and he somehow got, like he became an admin, like, I don't know, 1 or 2 years ago, and he has been undercover for 2 years trying to scam
Murtaza,
Sovereign
I'm
like
not
this.
denying your credibility as an influencer. I'm not denying that. I literally told you I invested 1.7 million of my own money on a referral link that was shared by
I know
you.
that.
I'm
I
telling you
know
that. So
that.
what I'm saying is the problem here
Exactly.
is VCs need to be involved in the process. Mac BDC, who was the founder of Satoshi VM, came on the spaces and like fuck the VCs. Like what the hell? This whole issue is like people like you removing the VCs. Murtaza, you cannot decide if a project is actually legit or no. How long? What was the first time Satoshi VM actually committed something to the GitHub? When was the first time they actually showed that they've been building? What was the first time there was a commit? What was the date? Can you tell me? Was 2024 or 2023?
If you're telling
Uh,
me they are a scam, right? No, you're implying
no,
that
no.
team is a
I'm
scam. The
not saying
first
it's a
thing is
scam.
I
I'm not saying.
invest in
I'm asking
500
you.
of
When was
projects
the
as well.
first
No, no,
time they
bro, you
showed they
never
built
let
something?
others
Just answer me
speak.
one
You're
question.
not letting
When was
others
the first
speak.
time? Okay, when was the first time Satoshi VM actually committed something to the GitHub? When was the first time? And that when was the first time they committed something to the GitHub that shows that they actually been
I
building
don't know. It
something?
was maybe something 1 month ago.
So I will tell you that that's the point. You show something
Okay,
you don't
so
even
now
know when
you're
they actually
telling me,
been
no, no,
building.
bro.
Okay, let me
Okay,
complete.
yeah,
They
sure, sure.
started building in 2024, and it came
Okay,
out of nowhere. There are projects like Tap Protocol, like Sovereign, building for 2 years, and you're telling me that they're the ones scamming? Come on, man.
I'm not
You're
scamming them.
telling me
I'm literally
projects.
asking you. You tell me that influencers are bad for marketing, and
I am
there's
telling
someone
you,
who's
you
actually
cannot build
giving
a layer
paid
two for
tweets,
$200,000, dude.
and
You
the
cannot build a
founder
layer
is
two. You
retweeting
cannot
undisclosed shares.
you
Literally, he
cannot
is
build,
disclosing
you
that. Okay,
cannot raise $200,000 from a group of your friends and then go
okay,
and say you're going to build a layer two, and then if you're going to
okay,
successfully build it, while at the same time you're
okay. So
dumping
once again,
$75,000 of tokens that you
no,
paid
no, no.
5,000 for. That is the problem with the
Okay,
space.
okay. So
This is the problem we
no,
need
no
to
one should
fix.
TP, right?
Layer twos
No
are
one
not going
should.
to be built for $200,000. You
Okay, brother.
actually need solid VCs to come
Why did
in.
BitGet freeze your account, by the way? Was it because you were
They
selling your
so
tokens on day one? It was
Yes,
like
that
200K, right?
yes, that's
That
why they
was the
actually ended
reason,
up paying
right?
me one point. No,
I'm
listen, what
just
happened?
asking you,
They
bro.
paid
Yes
1.4
or
million
no?
dollars because they were
Did
wrong. They paid
BitGet, bro?
1.4 million dollars to
Did
me.
BitGet
The
freeze
BitGet
your
paid me
account for
7
selling
times.
tokens on day one or not? I'm simply asking you
That's
one
what they
thing.
did. That's what they were wrong. And I told them I've been
Okay,
publicly an advisor for the project. That's why BitGet
okay.
was wrong. And they actually ended up paying me a lot more. Are you going to pay the community that you sold $75,000 or are you going to pay 7 times to the community
No,
that you
I'm
took
simply asking.
75? That's what I'm saying. BitGet did. BitGet paid me. BitGet froze $200,000. They paid me a lot more than what they froze. I won the case in the end. So that's why
Zach,
I'm asking you
uh,
now. If you want to bring up that case.
You
Zach,
can go. Go
Zach,
ahead.
just Zach, from a legal perspective, I'll kind of move on from this. But Bubble, I know you've looked at on-chain analysis, so maybe getting your thoughts on this. And Zach, legal perspective on influencers shilling and not disclosing. I think these are the two final points I'm really interested to learn about. Maybe Bubble, you can kind of chip in on the back and forth they've had on the way the
Yeah,
influencers were handled on with Satoshi VM. You've been looking at the project for a while. You were on the last space as well, and then we'll go to Zach to give us his legal perspective. Go ahead, Bubble.
that's good. Of course, of course. Thank you for having us again. So, what I can say regarding this very, very interesting back and forth is that from the on-chain perspective, I can back up Murtaza's claims. So, he was indeed the biggest recipient of the airdrop. I think he received 26K SAVM tokens, which were worth 260K at launch. So that was a significant
How
amount.
much were they? How much were
And
they
he
worth?
did
How much were they worth on launch?
around 250K.
250K.
Yeah.
How much did he invest?
I'm not sure about how much he invested because that
But he said
was done in a separate round.
5K.
No, he invested 5K at a 2 million, I suppose, a 2 million euro valuation, which was the strategic round for the KOL. But the price jumped so much that it was worth way more at launch
Are you
price.
saying that 5K was worth 250,000 at launch?
I'm not sure he invested 5K. I'm not
And let me
saying.
go
I'm
back to
just
my notes.
saying.
Hold on. Let me go back to my notes. He said,
No, hang on, Mario. I think based on
It
my
was
notes, he
5K. It
said,
was 5K. It was exactly 5K.
yeah,
So he
Murtaza, I think
invested. Okay.
you
So
said 5K, but I think only 15% of it got unlocked, right?
so,
So
so
literally
he invested.
$750 got unlocked.
He invested
50%
5K.
was unlocked. 50% and 15% was sold by me
okay,
of my total
sorry,
allocation.
I misunderstood. You had half of it unlocked, but you only sold 15%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, well,
the
that's,
total allocation.
oh yeah, 15.
So I can
Okay,
confirm.
so to half, so
The,
essentially, which is half, if I do my math correct, is half of what was unlocked, correct?
I'm sorry. 15% of
15%
my
of the
whole
whole allocation
allocation.
was sold. So
Totally.
how, yeah, no,
Total
how much
allocation.
percentage, just if I get my math wrong, how much of the percentage was unlocked? 50%. How much of that was sold? 30%?
50%, 550 was unlocked. 15% was
Okay,
sold
I'll
by me
ask
over
I
6
beg
hours.
you to answer,
That was
Murtaza,
something
Murtaza,
like,
yeah,
that was like, sorry, that was 10 hours after
yeah,
launch or something. I don't really remember
okay, so
exactly.
no, I don't know. So about 30% of what was unlocked was sold. Bubble, go ahead, continue.
Mm, yeah.
okay, so he received like 25K, which he disclosed. I want to be clear on this point. Murtaza disclosed everything on his Twitter.
Okay.
So credits on him. So 25K ISAVM tokens worth 250,000, and he sold around 70K data on chain. So that was
Out of
very
the
clear.
200, so
The
250K was actually the unlocked amount, correct?
yes,
Well, so
yes,
hold on.
250K
So that
dollar.
means the 5K was worth 500K, and half of it was unlocked at 250K, correct?
Yeah,
That's crazy
that's it.
numbers. These are
That's
insane numbers.
insane numbers.
And
100
I
Why?
mean,
x,
Why?
100
Murtaza,
x.
Hold on,
while we
hold
are
on,
here, I
hold on.
think you
Why is this
were
a surprise? It's not a surprise to anyone. The token 100x compared to the strategic round, everybody said it. So for a 5K investment, this is 500K.
But the main issue also comes, Murtaza, you're raising a lot of questions here. You're saying you got the largest allocation. You got this allocation because you decided which influencers came. You didn't get this because you're an influencer yourself. That's the whole problem with the space. You are bringing on people to a project to promote it. The reason I messaged you for allocation because everybody said you're the one who's leading this dashing who gets what allocation. The biggest YouTuber in India, he messaged me, said you should talk to Murtaza because he's deciding who's getting what allocation. You're deciding who's getting to invest what. You're getting the biggest allocation. Did you at no point think if there were VCs here, they would have told me that this project is not actually what they're showing. They have no GitHub, they have no track record. They came out of nowhere. Nobody knows who the founder is. Nobody knows who the team. The team is completely anonymous. But you are the one responsible for bringing on other influencers to the
It is,
project and promoting it.
once again, my bro,
That's why you got the biggest
everyone just
Go
allocation,
comes
ahead,
right?
here
respond.
and just speculates everything that this is true and this is false. I do not decide who gets how
I'm
much.
stating only facts. I'm only stating facts. You don't know who the team is. The team is anonymous. You got the
Okay,
biggest allocation. You got the biggest allocation to help onboard other influencers. At
okay.
that point, you knew
You're
that there were
telling
no
that I was
VCs. There
deciding
was no.
everyone's allocation, bro. You're telling
No,
I was
I'm not saying
deciding.
that. I am saying
You
that you
literally
got the
said
biggest
it, and now you're
allocation.
saying you don't say it. I don't understand what you're trying
Okay,
to
where
say
did
here.
you get the
I
biggest
did not
allocation?
decide
You have
this.
So let me
40,000 followers. You didn't get the allocation because you were the biggest influencer. You have 40,000 followers. Why did you get the biggest allocation? Because of
Because I
some
was
purpose, I
helping
believe.
them manage things.
And manage what? Can you explain what were you helping them manage?
The finances and everything, I literally helped them
So,
with that. And Mac was like
so
literally
okay,
doing
I'm
that
saying,
for me.
okay, what I'm stating is I was told by multiple people to message you
Okay.
if I want to invest in the project. I would have at that point, if there were actually VCs, I didn't know much about the project. I invested in 600 projects in the last 5 years. So I'm basically people who I trust, like the biggest YouTubers, they're telling me to message somebody. I normally
Do you
message
know what
thinking that they
happened?
know
Do you
what
want
they're.
to literally no, do you want me to
No,
say what
no, let me,
happened when
let
you
me. So
DM'd me? Do
the
you want to
point
like
is,
tell me what happened when
the
you DM'd me? He told, okay, I went to Mac and told him that Ivan Luthra wants to invest in Satoshi VM, and his reply was, Ivan has zero volume. He brings literally nothing on the table. This is why we cannot have him.
So
This was
I
the
don't know who
thing he
Mac is.
told me.
I've
I'm
said
sorry,
I've
but
talked
this is what
about
he told me.
previously about Mac saying he's a scammer. So the problem that's why I've already said this
Okay, so
let
publicly
me
if he's a
clearly. Mac is a
scammer, how
scammer
is he
let
a
me guys
scammer?
let me
What's
let
the
me Zach
precedent
because
for
because
let
he's
me
the
calling him a
anonymous
let me
scammer?
guy.
guys Zach
He's
Zach
the one who's sold the
Zach,
most Satoshi VM tokens.
Zach
If Mac is not a
Zach,
scammer, tell him to show he is. Come
Zach,
up with a face.
Zach just quickly going to I can use the mute all button, guys, but Zach, I didn't use it, but just for the co-host I can use it. But Zach, just from a legal perspective,
Yeah, for
Your
sure.
thoughts?
So I think there are there are two behaviors here we've been talking about that have legal ramifications. One is the unlock schedule, and the other is like the activity of shilling. And the liability goes one way on one and the other way on the other. So in terms of the unlock schedule, if your project has any US nexus, there really shouldn't be any insider tokens being unlocked at TGE or launch. Really, the best thing to do is have at least a year for tokens that were sold before the TGE to influencers, to team members, to VCs. Those really need to have a 1 year unlock, and it's on the project if they screw that up, right? It's not on the influencer if they sell early. If someone doesn't enforce that and you're an investor, you're an influencer, like I guess might as well get early liquidity. It's generally speaking not on you, but that's pretty dangerous for the project. However, the activity of actually shilling these coins, of saying that this is a good investment and trust my credibility as an influencer, you should buy this thing, that is very legally dangerous for the influencer. And that is one of the most common areas in all of crypto where people get in trouble. And like, if you're an influencer who did that, I would definitely save the money you made from the project, because you might have to give it
Even
back and there might
if
be
they
fines and stuff.
even if they disclosed it,
100%.
even if they disclose it, Zach.
Even if they disclose it, yeah.
100%.
If you're
There's a
promoting an
reason why
investment,
Mac is the guy behind
Okay,
the
okay,
is
Evan.
anonymous, because these guys are
Okay,
scamming. They
just
know that. They
Evan,
know that. That's why they're anonymous.
Zach, just quickly. So even if they disclose, they're still legally liable.
yeah. I mean, you should disclose it. There's separate rules under the FTC about basically doing an advertisement that you need to say that it's an advertisement, that you're being compensated. So that is table stakes. You definitely should disclose. But really, shilling a token as an investment is a very legally risky activity, period, even if you disclose that you have the token.
Zach, just one question on my end, by the way. If a founder is asking another influencers to tell like some other project is a scam, and like just for promoting your own project, like what's the like? Is there any repercussions for that?
I don't really know the situation you're
There's no
talking about, but like,
repercussions for people
I'm
promoting
simply
their own
asking, like,
project.
if someone's
These are
asking
people
other
who are
to
not
call something a
anonymous.
scam to promote
No,
their
no.
own
there's a
project,
difference
is
between
that a
hiring
scam?
there's a difference between hiring someone to talk about the benefits of a protocol you're creating, right? I'm creating this DEX,
If
it's going to
someone's
have lower
actually
fees,
telling
it's going
it's
to
a
have deeper
scam,
liquidity, and hiring someone to promote an actual token. And when you're hiring someone to promote an actual token as an investment, that's where you're probably promoting an unregistered securities offering, and you got to be super careful.
Okay.
exactly. And if the founder is literally telling them that just go out there and tell everyone that this other project is a scam and use that to like promote my own project, like then what it is like, like
Then
does
then
founder
then
pay
that
for this?
project has to file a defamation lawsuit. That project has to file a defamation lawsuit.
So
That's what the
okay,
legal proceeding is. For that, they need to speak
okay.
up who they are. You can't file a defamation lawsuit if your team is anonymous
I have a
and the
question.
Go ahead,
influencer
coach.
promoting is
Go ahead, coach.
anonymous. That's the
I have
whole
a question.
point.
I have a question.
If the guys
Go
So,
are
ahead.
really legit, tell them to speak up who they
Evan,
are.
just give it.
hold
Go,
on,
coach. Go ahead.
hold on. Let me put a question out there, because I mean, looking at traditional ways that influencers are paid, would it make more sense? Just this is a question for everybody. Would it make more sense for influencers just to be paid in USDT and it disclose that they're promoting this project, and whether they're advertising or they're promoting it, that they like this project? Here's why: I'm being paid USDT. I don't get benefits from the project, so I can't dump on you. Would that make things a little bit better for our entire space? If they were not, for example, investing, and if they were limited to how much they could invest based off of getting some type of preferential treatment. I'm just curious on what everyone thinks about that.
Coach, of course.
Can I chime
Like,
in?
they could do that today, but I think a market is a market
There's
is a market, and when you have this the way the market is today, you're going to have influencers that are going to be anonymous, they're going to be shilling projects, they're going to be paid under the table. You're going to be having those things happen, and an investor doesn't know the difference, and I think that's the hard
correct me
part.
if I'm wrong here, but like the advice that you gave before about the legal side of things, you said that an influencer would be essentially paid to promote a project, but when there's an opportunity,
Let's talk about promoting a token.
promoting a token, correct? But when there's a strategic round and somebody who happens to have an audience makes an investment in a strategic round and then talks about the investment that they like. For me, for example, I do due diligence in the so if I'm offered a KOL round, I do due diligence, and then if I like the project, then I invest into it, and then I talk about the thing that I invested into. and then I tell people that I invested into this thing, right? And so there's no expectations from the project.
There's a difference between doing a research report and promoting a project, right? And that's definitely something that if you do that type of activity, you want to talk to your lawyers about, are you stepping over the line into active promotion? But I think here we've mostly been talking about specifically people who are being paid to act as influencers and actively promote a token. And that is definitely legally risky.
So once again, bro, I'm just going back to think that if some influencer is like shelling a token undisclosed and getting paid tokens for this, and the founder is actually retweeting those posts, so is only the influencer in this who is actually going to be like held for this?
Zach?
Oh no, I mean, like if the team is hiring an influencer to promote their unregistered securities offering, right? And the very fact of hiring an influencer to promote something to make the price go up is some like a factor that could turn an otherwise like legal meme coin launch into something that's an unregistered securities offering. That could absolutely blow back on the project
And
as well.
founders are actually retweeting those posts like regularly.
Smart projects who have strategic investors or people who have tokens who might have an influence generally have something in the contract that prevents that person from doing promotion or solicitation. And so if that person does it, the company can say, listen, we told the person not to. They said they wouldn't, and this is not on us.
Okay, once again, okay, there are two scenarios, okay, in mind. The first scenario is the project is like actually getting investment from these influencers, and they're literally investing in their strategic round, okay, and this is the reason why they are speaking about the project. This is the first scenario, and the second scenario is project is actually like paying influencer in tokens, and they are undisclosedly shelling the project while the founder is retweeting all those tweets. So once again, I'm simply asking you, is the first scenario actually legit here, where influencers actually investing in the project and also disclosing that he's invested, while in the second scenario, he's not disclosing this, the founder is actually retweeting those posts and telling all the influencers to actually call the other project a scam. So in this scenario, which one is actually the right, morally right in a way?
I don't know. Zach can't talk about morals. I think he could talk about legal from a legal aspect. I think you've kind of answered that.
Again, legal aspect.
Okay, Zach,
think
I'll let
if
you.
someone's actually
Zach, I'll let
investing
you.
in a project?
Yeah, go ahead, Jack. I'll let you.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't really have a moral view other than to say probably both legally and morally, it is worse if you don't disclose that you have a financial interest in something you're promoting, and there can be additional legal trouble with not disclosing. But the issue of promoting a token that is an unregistered securities offering, that really doesn't matter whether you disclose or not. You can totally disclose and still be liable.
We do have. Let me just jump in, Murtaza. I'm gonna go to Reddit. I do have to jump on Pierce Morgan in an hour, so I haven't prepped at all for that. I don't even know the topic. So I want to kind of finish do another maybe 20 minutes. We've got 3 Shark Tank section with 3 projects. But Reddit, you've had your hand up for a while. You're a bit too nice. You got to be a bit more rude. Get that British personality out of your system on these spaces to be able to speak.
Thanks, buddy. No, well, first of all, very quickly, I just wanted to thank Murtaza for being completely honest and transparent with us in terms of what happened, but also he shared that his wallet is on, is on chain and is public, and he's been confirmed by Bubble. And I think as well, the fact that he received 50% of his token being unlocked and only sold 15% of it, that showed a little bit of responsibility from his behalf, because he could have very easily sold, the full
volume,
kind of
exactly.
unlock, which is
The volume was there to allow him to sell it all. It's a lot of money.
Exactly. So he almost walked away from $150,000, if not more, to show a little bit of ethics, a little bit of responsibility as well, etc. You've asked me earlier, Mario, what do you think about that? Obviously, the blame very quickly goes to the project, to the founders. They have the sole and the initial responsibility to make sure that the unlock is fair, the unlock is not catered in a way that's going to benefit certain individuals, etc. So the question is, if Murtaza obviously just went and invested, and he was purely an investor, he's got no problem, because that's what they've given him. They've pre-agreed on the terms of the unlock. They've pre-agreed on what he's going to be receiving on day one, and it's well within his rights to go and sell. For me, where it becomes a little bit grey is when there is advisory to it, because for me as a VC, I like to see advisory, particularly the advisory tokens, being unlocked as well as the team tokens. And we're talking about longer unlock periods, so probably cliff of 1 to 2 years, and then we're talking about an unlock of 4 to 5 years, your linear unlock after that, because it gives me that level of confidence that the team are trustworthy, the team, they cannot believe in their long-term vision, they don't want to dump on day one, they want to build a fully viable products down the road. For me as a VC, it just gives me that extra thumbs up. Having said that, and this is kind of, I'm going to dumb it down for the audience, right? See, Sometimes you invest not because the product's going to be great. Sometimes the investment is because you could make a buck of it, and it's going to be a great investment decision. Why? Because maybe it's the hype in the market. Why? Because the narrative in the market is right. Why? Maybe because you time in the bull market perfectly. So perhaps in 3, 4, 5 years' time, they're not going to invest the cure to cancer. But probably over the next 2 years, this is going to be a great investment that's going to get you multiple X's. So sometimes people shouldn't focus too much on the end product as much as they should focus on, ask themselves first, am I invested because of the tech on this one, or am I invested because I want a good return on this one, right? And at the same time, you could lose money investing on Tesla if you buy at the wrong time and sell at the wrong time. It's as simple as that. So for me, the most important point is the timing in terms of when you're going to invest and when you're going to exit, right? Another problem as well, and I've seen it, I've been around and I've seen it being done in so many different ways, right? We're talking about strategic rounds, we're talking about allocation, we're talking about unlocks. We've got to be really careful with people that are keen to get KOLs very early, because KOLs normally you would want them to be towards the end of it. And as Carl, I think, mentioned it, towards the strategic round. But also you want to be careful when you see KOLs having different unlocks, right? So one KOL is getting 50%, the other one getting 40%. That tells me there isn't a preset rules that's going to be applicable to everybody. And therefore, there is a little bit of wishy-washy kind of process in the background. I'm not too comfortable with that. The other thing as well that you want to be completely aware of is the unlock schedule and the big events that are taking place. And I'm talking, I think the panelists here, they're fully aware of it, but the audience, you want to know what's the unlock schedule, what's kind of the emission is like, what's the unlock schedule is like, how does the unlock schedule align with the big events taking place, i.e. exchanges, i.e. delivery of product, i.e. market makers getting involved, etc. Because that could give you an indication, is there going to be enough liquidity in the market to be able to bear the unlock schedule? When you just dumping everything on day one and then hyping a lot out of it, it is kind of a recipe for disaster, and you should try to step away from that. Somebody mentioned, VCs, when you see a big VC involved, and including me, when we see big names involved, we know a tremendous amount of kind of due diligence being done, and it gives us kind of a blanket of comfort. So to invest in those projects. I mean, we do our own due diligence, and we have a team of analysts that do that, but still having a big name involved in the project gives us that comfort. So when you see a project with no VC, it's a big red flag.
Yeah, I'm gonna let me go through some of the comments.
Red,
Hold on, Joe, because I do want
What do you
to.
think of Jupiter, by
Just
the
seconds,
way?
just seconds.
Just like a question.
I know exactly where you're going with this. So let me see here. So we got here. I'm going through the comments. Got one good comment here from a pretty respected person in the space. The problem with these influencers, not Murtaza, but some of the influencers were literally saying this is a great project, and they made it seem like they found a gem and they were investing. Instead, they were dumping on retail. So essentially what he's saying is that Murtaza at least disclosed. Murtaza didn't dump his entire allocation. Others just dumped everything and didn't even disclose. Those are the problem.
Hey, Mario.
And then one more comment. I love this comment. Look at this one. And then we're going to go to one of our partners today to kick off the Shark Tank segment. But he says, pathetic debate. He was being sarcastic. I love this comment. Same person. Pathetic debate. How dare only influencers dump on retail? This is a job of VCs. And as a VC, and obviously now you can call me an influencer if you like, but I prefer the VC label. It's a perfect comment because these are the VCs. Not all of them. Again, you can't put all of them in the same basket. Some of them do big lockups. But VCs have played the same game in the last bull market. They're playing the same game now. They ask for a big unlock at the beginning, especially ones with a reputation, and they dump. Those ones generally lose credibility. But at the same time, Kyle, we've had this discussion before. What's sad is that the VCs, even the credible ones that have respect, that don't end up dumping, they end up losing because everyone else dumps and they're holding the bags and the token drops 99% and they got LPs they're responsible for. So what is a legitimate, credible, ethical VC meant to do when everyone else is dumping, hurting them and their LPs? See, that it's the game that's the problem. That's what I keep trying to say. It's the game. It applies to influencers. So projects need to lock up their tokens. And I think retail investors need to punish projects that don't have lockups at the beginning unless there's enough demand and there's enough hype. There's enough retail demand to be able to absorb some of that initial sell-off for a project not to dump.
Now you understand, since the day that I've met you, why I've been obsessed with token economics. They're quite complicated, my friend.
Yeah, I see 100%. And
there's more. Hold on. The reason, let me just explain things to people. Like the reason that vesting schedules exist in tokens and in equity is to give time for the project or the company to get off the ground and start generating revenue and adoption. And the idea is, is that there's a lot of sell pressure either in the stocks or in the tokens in the early days before there's enough adoption of the actual usage of the product. Then that's going to have a negative price action on that asset. But if you can foresee or within some or try to foreshadow the rate of growth or demand for a token or a stock, for example, and try to find equilibrium with the unlock schedule, that is the sweet spot of what you want to try to look for. And that is what we look for when we try to do these kind of formulas. And of course, that's very, very hard to do, and market cycles play a big role in that. But as we mature as a space, that would become more significant.
Yeah, go ahead, Joa. And just after Joa, we're going to kick off the Shark Tank segment, just considering what we're discussing now. As always, every project that's on the Shark Tank segment, I think all of them, we mainly have allocations in. So we take allocations in them, they come on the show if you can't connect the dots. So we have 3 projects coming on today. One of them, I think the first one, we're pretty heavily invested in. But Joa, they're a public company, so we don't have any tokens. It's publicly listed shares, as far as I'm aware. Joa?
Yeah, I mean, VCs get scammed also, right? So, Delphi is a great VC. They got scammed. You can't hold an influencer to a different standard than you do a VC who's doing due diligence and put their own money in and lost their money. I think people need to realize VCs, influencers, they're putting a spotlight, they're giving your opinion. You still need to do your research. I 100% agree with what Kyle said. I always look at the tokenomics. Very famous L1 that launched last year had an unlock for the VCs in the first year. I said, forget it. I'm not going anywhere near this thing. And, the project didn't really go anywhere. You can't take an influencer's advice as gospel and throw your money in. You need to do your own research. You can come up with 1,000 different solutions for what influencers must do and put that it's sponsored or not sponsored. It doesn't matter. They're going to get scammed themselves. Some of these people use their platform to push. No influencer wants to push a scam because it hurts their future income. So I don't think many of these people are out there for like just to make money off of people and be scammy. They won't be around. They'll be pushed to the side if that's what they're doing. You need to do your own research. You need to look. Do not take people's word as gospel. You need to look.
Yeah,
And if you do anything like Kyle, I look at tokenomics. That's what makes it obvious.
Yeah, and it's kind of before going to Shadan and David to kick off the show. And Shadan, I want to get your thoughts on all this before talking about orthogonal. Is the credibility of a VC. I think credibility in the space is very underrated. We talked, some of us, and these, we're giving you a lot of information of things that happen behind the scenes. They kind of heard an argument between Evan and Murtaza. This is what happens behind the scenes. We are the people that come in early on those projects. And you see some of us doing it well, others not doing it too well. And the ones not doing it well are usually not on this stage. They don't want to, be exposed publicly to it because they get in trouble. But some things to look out for is, do these investors use multiple wallets and hide their investments? Do they disclose them? Like for me, for example, it's very simple to see all my transactions because I only just use one wallet or maybe a handful now. But in the early days, just one wallet for all transactions. So it's very visible. But the credibility aspect of it. So when you have credibility in the space, it's extremely valuable. VCs that have credibility to get such great terms, Animoca, even now, but in the early days, they were a lot more selective with their investments. Any project that Animoca invested in, all VCs will try to get an allocation, like a requirement. We don't even do DD. Animoca invested, immediately get an allocation, do DD later. That's how much trust we had in VCs like Animoca. Number one. Number two, and obviously it backfires sometimes. Alameda's being a good example of 3 Hours Capital. So that's number one. Number two example where credibility is so important is Binance. So again, today we're talking to a project that came to see us that we're investing in. Incredible project. They raised multiple 8 figures, and we're talking to them about their whole strategy. They have one goal in mind. They've been around for many years. They've raised, again, tens of millions of dollars, built some incredible games, and they had one objective in mind: list on Binance. That's it. That's because the credibility that Binance has built in being selective of the projects that they launch. So it gives you an idea of the value of credibility. And I'm talking on a big scale here. 3 Hours Animoca Brands and Binance are the two examples that I've used, but that applies to influencers as well. So a lot of influencers there. We've got Ran coming up again. Let me get him up. Zach, I'll bring you down just because we stopped the legal talk. But that credibility is extremely valuable because once you talk about a project, you don't have to have a lot of followers. But if you have a small amount of followers that know you won't shill a project you don't believe in, or won't put your name as an advisor. So that's really, I'm very careful. A lot of projects we invested in, and they give us good terms, they put my name as an advisor without asking for permission. We take that extremely seriously because I know that could harm credibility. So once you build that credibility, even for a small number of followers, and that's for everyone in the audience, try to do that. And you're careful on which projects you back, who you talk to about publicly. It pays off. And Ryan, I saw your request on that particular part, which I know you're careful of. I'm not sure if it's working for you. I know you're on a plane, so I'm not sure how the hell you're getting on. If you're using plain internet, it's not going to work. You can listen, but you can't speak. But yeah, just wanted to kind of talk about that credibility. Bubble, any final quick words on that point?
Yeah, of course. No, I completely agree with many points that were said, especially going back to the SAVM and the tokenomics. I remember when we were investigating this token, we had quite a hard time finding the tokenomics. And when I say tokenomics, I don't mean the allocation, because the contributors getting 15% was quite clear. But I mean the vesting and the cliff was quite hard to find at the very beginning of the token.
Mm.
And Murtaza, I have to say, he did everything very transparently. But what we found is that many of these influencers, they were quite aggressively selling these tokens. And to be precise, we have 250 influencers. There were 90 of them who sold everything at launch. So 90
Yeah.
on
And Murtaza,
250.
we can hold you responsible for that. Because you said earlier you helped them get influencers. So if you actually helped them get influencers, took care of
Once
allocations.
again, that was a speculation. I did not
I thought
decide
you said it.
allocations.
I apologize. I apologize.
I did
I thought
not.
you did.
That's
But
what I said.
didn't you get him influencers?
The thing is, people DM'd me about this,
That's the
that they
case.
wanted
Right,
to
so
get in Satoshi,
again,
and then I connected them.
I understand. Now I'm giving
And
you
the,
more credit. I'm giving you more credit than constructive feedback. I think constructive feedback is the whole strategy of having, if you're an advisor, then
that's totally
telling him.
fine. I'm no, but one thing, if something is factual, I'm totally fine with it. If there's something speculative that you're just assuming this is true because you think so, that's wrong. Once again, if everyone just keeps on saying Satoshi VM is a scam, so why is the team still here? Why are they
I
still
never,
like trying to
Murtaza.
prove
Again,
themselves?
I wanna jump off. I want to kind of move on from Satoshi VM. But all I was saying is,
Or the,
if or whoever, let me just keep it broad because I don't want to make it specific on you. Whoever got them influencers, I think should have been careful on the unlock. But again, like it was a very small volume relative to. I don't know if they're a scam. I haven't looked into their tech. I'm not an investor. I don't have time to look into them, and I've never made the allegation. All I'm saying is that I think the unlocks are a bit of a it's one thing I would critique. But I've given you credit for disclosing your unlock, even though you made a fair bit of money, and for not selling all your tokens at launch. There's like 2 points of credit that I've given you on a personal
sorry,
level.
one
But
thing I'm
otherwise,
gonna say. One thing I'm gonna say.
yeah, man,
That
go
amount
ahead.
of money was not worth the drama.
I
That's the
kept
only
on.
thing I'm gonna
No,
say.
it's never. Yeah, I know. I agree with you there. I don't think almost no amount of money is worth the drama that you just faced. And I appreciate coming up on stage. You didn't have to. Satoshi VM didn't come on, and maybe they've got good reasons, but you did. So I appreciate you doing that. Let me go to Shadan. Shadan, your thoughts on the discussion so far, and then Goody and AJ will kick off the Shark Tank section. How are you, sir?
Very good, thanks. Very good. So this is a space that's very interesting to me, and my partner David is on as well, and we're actually significant investors in bringing Web3 and DeFi to Bitcoin using some of the technologies these guys are purporting to use. We don't go to a forum or Twitter to find our investments. We go to the best universities and the best cryptographers, people that are doing ZK research, and we ask them, who do you recommend for us to speak to? And that's the stage of the game that this space is at. This project looks very much like a scam to me, because all they've done is copy the actual white paper that did the innovation and discovered that you could build L2s on Bitcoin, and that was the BitVM white paper. Then you look at their code; they have nothing about that at all. They have some kind of bridge that they're building for bridging Bitcoin to Ethereum, and it's very amateur, right? So that would tell anybody who does diligence in the space and research from a technical perspective that this project is not what it claims to be, right? The fact that they're copying an actual white paper that's legitimate, the fact that their code doesn't even match to that, it's just a bridge for Bitcoin, shows you that it's not correct. But the more important thing is that Bitcoin as a platform for Web3 and DeFi is becoming real. and the first, you know, L2 on Bitcoin that is a ZK rollup, like how these guys claim that they're going to do it, will be many times bigger than any L2 on Ethereum, just by virtue that there's a lot more capital on the Bitcoin blockchain. So investing in this is a good idea, but unfortunately, this project was nowhere near being what the real deal would be, which is actually something
Once
that
again, Shidan, can I speak here?
yeah,
Can I like a bit? See, the thing
sure,
is, like,
absolutely.
whenever you see something like this is a very big deal. And
You're cutting out Mortaza. The Satoshi VM team, I
very
think, is
smooth.
calling you and cutting out the space.
Like,
They're like,
if you're gonna ask me, even the chat was
you're
going
back.
well.
You're back. You're
Sorry,
back. Yeah, you just cut out for a bit. I think put your phone on do not
sorry,
disturb so the Satoshi
sorry.
VM can stop calling you. All right, man. You're cutting out again.
Right?
Tell the Satoshi VM guys to not cut
You
you
know
off and
was
say no, don't speak. Is it? Let me see what their token is doing as you speak. If maybe doing harm or good.
So
no,
what?
I
no,
think
that's
you're cutting
fine.
off.
I'm just talking, brother. Sorry, I'm
Now
just
you're
talking
cutting
about the
off. You're cutting
token
off.
here.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
it should be better now. Sorry. So the thing is,
All
like,
right, nice.
everything was going well. The testnet was smooth and everything. Like, when you're seeing something like ZK rollup and on a Bitcoin L2, you just get like FOMO in a way. Like, what if they deliver this?
Yeah,
So,
there's no way these guys would have delivered that, but
but
I
once
I
again, no, no, it's
appreciate the
all about
fact.
delivery, okay, brother. The thing
Mhm.
is, when Yago came on here and said that ZK rollup, like, it's just not possible and it is a scam. But then he went on and shilled a project which was literally building the same thing. So that's
Right.
the issue I have over here. Like, if you're coming on here and just like announcing something is a scam and then going on to shill that, okay, ZK rollups are not possible, but also I'm going to shill a project which actually is building the same thing. My issue is there. Honestly
Yeah,
speaking, you
so
cannot do that.
ZK rollups are possible, but it takes real scientists to make that happen, and it's not at the stage that it's promotable like this yet. But you've seen what I've seen, and probably everybody else on this platform, including Mario, that getting Web3 on Bitcoin and getting L2s on Bitcoin that use these technologies and everything that's wonderful about DeFi on Bitcoin would just make this whole space explode incredibly more than it
Exactly. There's
already
so
has,
much FOMO in there,
right?
right? When you just
Yeah,
listen that ZK rollups on Bitcoin L2, no matter who, like if you have even like one bit of knowledge about crypto, you're gonna feel FOMO, and it doesn't matter. Like maybe they can achieve it, maybe they cannot achieve it. But the thing is, someone came on here and blatantly lied that ZK rollups are not possible, and then he went on to like promote it. That's my main issue, right? Because that's market manipulation. If you're asking me, that's
yeah.
direct market
So
manipulation, and
when
that
there's one person on this chat, I'm just noticing RGB Brad. He's another person who's actually investing in a lot of the leading projects in this space. I would recommend that everybody in this community learns more about what you can do with Bitcoin and follow him, follow me, follow David. You know, and there's a tremendous amount of excitement around this space now. You're going to have scams like this. This has been part of crypto since day one, but there is something very real about these technologies, and where they're going is extremely important for the space, in my opinion. Right?
Yeah,
So
I would like to get the audience's thoughts as well on two things. First, your thoughts on Satoshi VM. I know a lot of Satoshi VM fans and investors are in on the audience, so I'll probably be attacking some of the panelists. But also people listening to this back and forth and debate, and us, kind of, we all feel like this is a call, so we're having like a frank conversation. A lot of people behind the scenes when all these projects are launching, kind of giving you an insight into what happens behind the scenes. I'm genuinely curious to get your thoughts on these spaces. Whether I should do more of them, where you have some of these as quote unquote insiders having a debate about different projects. I think it'd be good to do more spaces, kind of bringing more transparency for the audience, and then you can make up your own mind. Like, do you think Evan made some good points? Do you think Murtaza didn't do the wrong thing? Did the right thing in disclosing and not selling all his tokens? Do you think the influencer strategy by Satoshi VM was right? Are they over promising? Keen to know your thoughts. So I'm going to go through I was going through the comments. So I was going to read a few more, but actually I've got David here, who's on stage. He's going to be talking in a second. He says it's called death spiral financing. David, what do you mean by death spiral financing?
I mean, exactly what it means, Mario. Death spiral financing. I mean, the famous words of my co-founder 25 years ago is how you do anything is how you do everything. He's a securities lawyer, and basically in TriFi you can go out and raise money from people that are going to essentially sell your shares and short them. And there's no difference in this space. And I think that anybody you bring in is a frequency of energy. And if you're going to steward capital and you're going to raise money, you better know what you're doing and you better know what a vesting schedule is. I'm not saying this in any egotistical way, but a lot of this is like kindergarten. So you shouldn't even be in the game if you don't understand these, these types of, verbiage and boundaries. And, candidly, if this space is going to go anywhere, and, we're sitting here, I'm with one of your partners here on the Palm tonight. We envision this industry to be a multi-hundred-trillion-dollar industry. It's not for kindergarten children. This is for grown-ups. This is for people that want to build something that can elevate consciousness. We talked about quantum money tonight, and this is supposed to be about the last uh, free market in the world. And in order to do that, these bad actors need to go.
All right, I think it's a good summary of your thoughts there, David. Goody, you there?
Yes, I am here, and I think it's as good as time as any, especially with that take to transition into the next section. And we're going to hear from Orthogonal and their founders, David and Shadon, and you just heard a little bit of takes from them. They've had some amazing ones, honestly, in the group chat while we've been listening to this, and the show as a whole is amazing. Just want a quick housekeeping reminder of we have a Telegram chat and a newsletter that you guys can subscribe to and follow for all updates on the show when we are not live. And if you've never been to one of our Shark Tank sections, we run it kind of like the TV show Shark Tank. Projects get 90 seconds to pitch, and then 15 minutes of AMA with the rest of the panel. So David, Shadon, whichever one of you wants to take it away, that 90 seconds, you're free to start whenever.
Go ahead, Shadon.
Okay, sure. So, David has had a big passion and has been a patron of various projects bringing VR to mental health. What Timothy Leary was working on with the Cybernetic Society. He's helped those guys a lot as far as realizing that vision, and we both shared that vision. So we've been looking to build a metaverse around that concept for quite some time. And again, just going back with some of these innovations in Bitcoin and how we're both very excited about that, we've decided to actually build this metaverse centered around Bitcoin, and I believe it will be the first of its kind. So that's what Four Worlds really is. We're bringing some great people at the forefront of mental health, and bringing that forward, and we're also basing this on the most stable, secure blockchain that exists in the world. And this is something that's a lot easier than doing a ZK rollup, right? And it's on Bitcoin completely. So let's take the steps to get to that space, and of Bitcoin being completely Web3. And as far as I know, Four Worlds will be the first significant project as far as funding goes to actually see an application that takes advantage of these technologies, both for the mind and for the blockchain side. So very excited about that. I think that's 90 seconds.
No,
Cool.
well done. Yep. Oh, good. Go good, Mario. Sorry.
Yeah, we can kick it off. First question, I have just the basics, Shadon. How much have you guys raised so far?
Well, we're using our own funds right now for Four Worlds, so it's David and I who've kickstarted it really, but we're going to begin fundraising for it very, very soon. And
do you have influencer allocations whatsoever? Just for any influencers still listening to us?
Mario, I got influencer allocation for you. So
yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine. Keep mine out. I don't want any influencer allocation. I'll play my little card. Okay, I'll take influencer allocation, but I don't want any unlocks. Give me the highest number, and then what I'm gonna do is offer to invest and give me an even higher number. That's my strategy out in the open. This is what I do. But yeah, Shadon, I was just joking with that question. But just the metaverse itself, and I'm going to AJ, Joe, and Joe. I'm sure I have a lot of questions about just the metaverse itself. So we said a metaverse focused on mental health. So the utility is clear, but how would it work? Like just from a practical sense, when you enter your metaverse, why is it built on Bitcoin? Why does it need to be decentralized? And where does the mental health aspect come in? Unless I misunderstood.
No, those are great questions. So, building a metaverse, actually a digital environment for augmenting conscious states, is a lot easier than building a Fortnite, because, you know, let's say, for example, you're taking some therapeutic substance. Certain patterns, certain environments, certain groups being together and being able to communicate in easy ways is all it really takes to expand that greatly, right? And as you know, David's a major investor in the psychedelic space. He was a pioneer in that space, and you know, with the healthcare companies and some of these other types of companies that we have connections with, it just made a lot of sense, again, to build this as a metaverse, because now you can have worlds created by independent developers and artists and healthcare practitioners, and you can link these worlds together, very much like a Fortnite, but in a very open environment, and you can use, actually, as the communications layer, uh, you know, tools that already exist. One of those tools that we've decided to use is Nostr, because Nostr is getting very popular in the Bitcoin community. I was a very early investor in decentralized social media. I was one of the major investors in projects like Steemit, and helped kickstart a bunch of stuff in that space. So it's always been very close to me, as far as a passion goes. And Nostr is actually working. It's taking off. It's learned from the mistakes of previous projects and made it actually a lot simpler. It's not blockchain based. It's a very simplified system, and that's why it works, right? So we're using that as the communications layer. We just through the investments we've done in the past in the gaming space, and again, the healthcare VR space, we have great teams to work with there. And why did we choose Bitcoin? Because we can. That's really why, right? Because before, I when I lost interest in Bitcoin for many years. After the block size wars, I was like, this thing is going nowhere, really, and was focused on other things. And I was a very early entrant into the blockchain space. Like, I got into this around 2010, and then I became a merchant banker, and helped fund public companies and whatnot. And I've been doing that really more since about 2018. So but again, with these advancements in Bitcoin, that excitement has come back for me, and I can really see stuff being built here. It is the most decentralized, blockchain in the world. It is the most decentralized network in the world, period. And now that these innovations have happened, where you can build applications on top of it, and treat it as a database, as the final judge for any arguments, right? That's the way to look at it. It's become very exciting again, and that's why we're using it, right? So why Ethereum, I'd say, right? Because, well, I just said why I like Bitcoin more. It's more decentralized, and now that you can build dApps on it, why not?
Can I ask you a question though? A
Yeah.
lot of this is actually an area I kind of looked into because I found it interesting on the mental health space, and there's a lot of behavioral economics that's behind a lot of the good apps. Let's say one of them
Mhm.
is like Dan Nearly is very well known, um, and helped out two of these projects, I think. Is there things that you could do in VR that you can't?
Back to this whole conversation today, if you're going to build anything longitudinal, you have to bring the right frequency of people together, and also bring people from different genres that are actually looking at these spaces in multi-decades. So I just, want to give you a little background about how we look at it and the different economics and different focuses we're bringing together here. Shaden, do you want to add anything?
Okay, 50, I will get to you in just a second, but guys,
Sorry.
I have
Okay.
Go ahead, Shadan. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I just everything that David said. We've had a lot of experience in this space, and bringing these two worlds together makes a lot of sense, right? So I very excited about this project.
For sure. 50, I will get to you in 1 second. But David and Shadan, I remember, I've interviewed you guys on the roundtable before. We had a very interesting conversation over there about a month ago. And I remember, what you guys meant about UAC, that you're building a utopian asset class. Can you elaborate, to the audience, what that means?
I'll let David speak about that.
I mean, a utopian asset class comes down to the basic premise of frequency exchange or neutrality. I talk a lot about neutral density. I think that you go into investments and it can't just be about making money. How do you make money and actually do good for the world? And I'm not talking about like bullshit ESG. I'm talking about actually doing something, looking at something longitudinal, and realizing that if there's obviously everybody wants to make money, money's a frequency of energy, but how do you actually do something that's worthwhile in this world? And I will tell you, just with AI and longevity and where the planet's consciousness is going, this idea of a utopian asset class is it's already something that we're hearing much larger investors like Sequoia and Andreessen Horowitz and other people look at and say, okay, this is the next generation of investing. It's bringing consciousness to the forefront of how we make decisions and how we invest money.
Perfect answer. 50, you got your hand up. What do you got? Joe, go ahead.
I'll jump in since he's having problems with the mic. David, you mentioned before that you're getting things into Apple's Vision, I think it's called. Is this one of the projects that's going in there?
We're using Orthogonal Global Group, which is our public company. It's an investment issuer. So we own a family office called Orthogonal Thinker. That family office has a public company. That public company incubated and invested in a company called Novo Being. We technically own 25% of that company. That company has been in stealth for the last couple years, working with Harvard University and Boston College on actual psychedelics and meditation. So that product is available in the Meta Store now, but we will be one of the first projects launching on the Apple Visor. Maybe getting into a little bit of trouble here. I'm not supposed to say everything that we're working on, but again, when you're managing almost 100 and some assets, we're basically taking the best of whatever assets we own and bringing them into this project called Four Worlds.
50, are you back with us?
50, you want to try now?
Yeah, I'm right here. I'm sorry. I'm just at the gym, but I was listening. I missed my turn. But I wanted to go back to a conversation you guys were having like 20 minutes ago, if that's okay. We were talking about.
We want to keep the focus on the conversation at hand at the moment. We can circle back later.
Yeah, I'll circle back. I don't want to just change it, but I wanted to talk about something that was really interesting said. So let me know when I can jump in. I'll be here.
Hey, RGB Rad here. I got a
Good.
question for
right.
Shadan and David.
Send it.
So you guys have mentioned like building a metaverse on Bitcoin. Shadan, David, are you guys thinking about using RGB to use like Taproot to issue some of your metaverse land or something? Like, how do you use Bitcoin in this?
Yeah, so initially we're just going to use Bitcoin as the governance. We want this to be, a very democratic metaverse and owned by, really the network, right? That vision. So initially, we're not using RGB. As you know, I've been really following Taproot, and we're doing it with Taproot, and really just for voting as far as the governance goes. It will be the first large scale DAO on the Bitcoin blockchain outside of the mining network, of course, right? So that's what we're doing. We don't need RGB for that. However, partially because of you, I've become more interested in RGB after just seeing what it offers now. And you know, as you know, I've mentioned before that, you know, there's no reason to have two separate standards. They should combine those two, and the community should really push for that.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Orthogonal Group. I really appreciate appreciate your contribution. But we have to pivot to Lunar Crush. Lunar Crush is a site I used before. It has a lot of really good like social metrics, not only for blockchains but for influencers as well. Joe, am I speaking to you or the Lunar Crush account?
I could take it.
All
Thanks.
right, man.
Yeah.
So you no problem. You got 90 seconds, and then at the end of the 90 seconds, we'll have speakers ask you questions.
Love it. Yeah. So Lunar Crush, we've been around since 2018 when we launched with a mission of creating transparency for crypto. So unlike traditional finance in crypto, there were no earnings reports or 10Ks. And so we have a phrase that says, without a community, there is no crypto. And so what we do is we aggregate all the world's data across X, Reddit, YouTube, TikTok, and all the news. And we distill that data down and make sense of it by letting you know what the communities look like around all the different projects that are out there. And in the last 5 years, we've also added things like NFTs. You know, even if you're building on Bitcoin NFTs and BRC20s. We also expanded this last year to include 32 other categories because we know that people that like crypto also like things like the NFL or fashion brands. And so we're really a market intelligence and analytics firm. You know, we've got a couple different pricing models. You can come to Lunar Crush and sign up. It's $5 a month, so less than a cup of coffee a month. And what we're trying to do there is democratize the opportunity for the everyday investor and give them institutional tools that normally these massive hedge funds in Wall Street have had, and they can use them on their own. And then we also have an API for if you're a developer, and the API right now is used by big customers like Coinbase or Kraken, and we're also have an implementation coming with TradingView. But also, if you're a hobbyist and you're out there and you want to try it, you get you know, a little bit API calls with the $5 a month. And yeah, my 90 seconds is up, and I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, first of all, I want to say that this is a website I've actually used on several occasions because, you know, I'm a big trader, right? And I love doing technical analysis, but I also feel that, you know, social metrics specifically get slept on by people. You know, there could be a project that, you know, has some buzz going on, but when you really look at like the social metrics, it's sort of like looking at a trading indicator, in my opinion. Could you like kind of speak on like the power of social metrics and why it's so important for people to stay like plugged into like what a project is doing on in terms of their social numbers?
Sure, yeah. And if you've been listening to this space over the last 2 hours, you know how important, you know, understanding like the transparency of social media is. You know, we're aggregating, you know, 20 to 30 million posts an hour that are out there. I mean, you as a human could not possibly see all of that. So you're trying to get a snapshot and a very clear view of what a project looks like before, you know, you invest in that project. And another big piece that we're launching here soon, which is called Lunar Crush Earn, which also directly affects what we've been talking about here, is getting paid to be a creator. And how do you create the transparency? And the tool set needs to be there. And so we're building a tool called Lunar Crush Earn. We have all of this awesome analytics data around social media. We know how many interactions everyone is driving out there. We also know who all the top influencer and creators are for all these topics and all these projects. We rank those things. We've been looking at that for 5 years. We're going to let brands actually allocate budgets. And if you want to allocate, you know, growth to your brand or your project, and that's why people hire these influencers, you know, you want to target more specifically, you know, than just have an awareness campaign and throw some token at someone. So you can create a budget, and then you select the people that can get paid. And those people get paid based on how many interactions they actually drive back to the content that you're putting out there. And so that's something that we're releasing soon. It's part of the launch, you know, with Lunar Token, and so creators can get paid, but it's all also in fiat. So We're really, we started as a Web 2 company that sat adjacent to Web 3, and now we've kind of transformed into this kind of like hybrid Web 2, Web 3 model. And we think that could solve a huge issue with a lot of stuff we've been talking about today.
For sure, for sure. Joey, you got your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, look, I was on the last space. How long ago was it that you guys were on, Joe? Was it like a month ago or 2 months ago?
Yeah, I think maybe a month ago. I've hopped on a couple interim ones as well.
Yeah. So I was a huge fan of you guys early on. I first found you guys because Zilliqua had approached me to take a CMO role, and since then I started using you guys. And then I hadn't used you, and you're on the show, and I was like, oh wow, this thing has updated a lot. And now it's been a month or two, and again, you guys have updated. Like you guys keep pushing like crazy. Um, and I'm wondering because before doing crypto full time, my previous job, I was CMO at a founding team of probably the world's best brand tracking software. And it seems like you guys are moving into what's called the MarTech space, right? With brand measurements and things like that. How far are you guys going to take this thing? Because now I see celebrities, which is actually really, really good because projects that want to partner up or get a spokesperson, it's really important to understand like what these celebrities have and who we should be picking and things of that nature. And it seems like you guys are headed that way. And if you're shipping as fast as you are, like what's ahead? Because I see you guys going full steam.
Yeah, appreciate that. And yeah, I know that the team has their heads down, and we've been shipping like that for 5 years. We've been in this space a really long time, and we wanted to expand this the user type that we have. Being so deep into crypto, and we're still like hardcore degens. We're the team's buying NFTs, and we're in all the chats, and that's who we are. Like I think at our heart, but we also wanted to, when you're going through a bear market and building through that bear market like we just did, it's really difficult, to drive traffic to, crypto specific pages only. And so, we still want to be as hardcore as we can be on crypto, but we also wanted to, bring in some new audience that, is interested in NCAA football or UFC or the PGA Tour, even VC firms, and we're ranking all of that data. And so we spent a lot of the bear market just broadening out the back end to be able to aggregate that data. And so what you're seeing in the last probably 3 months is just a lot of, front end implementation of visualizing that data that we've been spending the last year on, and we're going to continue to broaden out.
Awesome.
Yeah,
And
AJ,
go ahead, John.
yeah, it's just like I'm on the political spaces a lot too. And for example, I'm looking at U.S. election on your site, and I'm looking at Donald Trump versus Biden, and Donald Trump. Oh, actually, while I'm watching it, it changed. That's good. Donald Trump was ahead, but now all of a sudden Biden has a lot more interactions than Trump. Like, how do I read this thing? Because this could be really useful for like people who are political commentators, news, things like that to understand. Like, for example, in terms of creators, there's more creators pushing out Donald Trump than Biden, for example. Like, how do I read this thing and how do I see it so I can speak intelligently on it? Because I think it's useful for a lot of people.
Yeah, I'm glad you saw that the data change there. A lot of times people don't realize this isn't just like a snapshot or a daily thing, or like I remember Cointelegraph used to do, who are the top influencers of 2024, and basically like their staff picked it, right? This data is real time. And so what you're seeing is real time posts coming in. Who are the top creators? How many posts are they creating? What's the sentiment? And so we use, we have our own large language model that we're using. We also cross-reference like the top 5 that are out there with like ChatGPT and Llama 2 on every single post that comes in to understand sentiment. And there's a variety of ways that you could look at that, you can see the Lunar Crush handle as a speaker here. Give it a follow, everyone. John's on there. He's been posting a lot about just the Super Bowl, right? And even the NFC and AFC championship games for the NFL. And believe it or not, the last couple of games, the teams that had more social activity were the teams that won. And so it's basically people out there, and we kind of always say at Lunar Crush, it's like the consensus of everyone tends to be accurate, but the idea of one doesn't. And so when you can kind of pull in the entire social sphere of where do people think things are going, how are polls moving, you could see what we were watching Nikki Haley move up this poll and this, this graph for U.S. election over the last couple of months. Lo and behold, she's the last one in the race.
Interesting. Andrew, I will get to you in a moment, but I have one question for you, Joe. I'm already on the waiting list, actually, for Lunar Crush Grow. And basically, you're going to save time and gain followers. It's an AI thought starter on how, when, and what to post. I find that very interesting. Can you just give us a little bit on Lunar Crush Grow and maybe a timeline on when?
Yeah, like Joe referenced, we're moving at the speed of light, and you're actually going to see a change at the top there. And Lunar Crush Earn has been put ahead of Measure and Grow on the roadmap. We've gotten a lot of great feedback. You could even see the signups, and you can go connect your account right now. There's the people that have signed up for the wait list. They drive over 50 million interactions a month, and so we've kind of noticed from our community that that's what they want first. And then Measure and Grow, like Joe was saying, we're kind of more focused on the creator economy. And so those got pushed back a little bit in reference for Lunar Crush Earn. But when they do come around, imagine you're a creator, and our idea there was, if we can save you 15 minutes on every post, and you're posting 10 times a day, like what is that worth to you? Right, by giving you prompts. And so all of our data, when we combine it, we know all the different topics out there. So you would say something like, hey, I want to be influential, over Solana. And so what we would do is basically pull all your data in, we pull all the influential posts across Solana and help creators save time by giving them kind of thought starters. We didn't want to actually write the post for you. We think that, AI is not there. It loses the human element a little bit, but we wanted to just help people kind of get pushed down that path.
For sure. Andrew, amazing CanPy Panda PFP, man. You got your hand up. What do you got?
Hey, what's up, Joe? Just for context, I'm the CMO of a DEX and aggregator, and then before that, I was the CMO of an L2, and I come from Amazon headquarters. It's the first time I've seen the product. I'm actually on it right now. I am quite interested in it because I've done a lot of studies around influencers in this space. And what's been interesting to me is some of the research findings that I've had on the back of using different analytics tools give me some kind of questionable results, and also, I think kind of contradicts some assumptions. One question I have for you is and apologies if you talked about this already, but when I'm looking at things category and topic influence, and I'm assuming in the login products, I can access things like geographic information and things like that. But can you talk a little bit about the methodology used to kind of identify these different things? Like how deep are you going against this stuff?
Great question. Very deep. We've spent the last 5 years, looking at, all the posts that come through. We've trained our own algorithms to look at things like spam, things that are unrelated, even crypto specific language, if someone says, hey, I got wrecked on Dogecoin yesterday, and they spell wrecked REKT, that's not a natural language processing library isn't going to pick those things up. And so we've looked at things like that and said, hey, that had bearish sentiment. And so as we've woven more sentiment in, it's gotten more and more accurate, and it's something that you continue to work on every day. Obviously the last year has been awesome with the new tools that have come out with the different large language models. It's gotten incredibly accurate to look at these different categories, how they relate. If you're an influencer and, you talk about altcoins a lot, but then also, you're really, into NASCAR, we know to kind of collate those things and bring that together. But the big thing here is, we've really kind of hand tailored all the terms and the keywords that we pull in, and it's not really something that you could code out. It's also the reason that we don't actually have any competitors, is because it's really impossible, and we've spent years and years looking at this data and really understanding the way that all of these communities talk about themselves. And so we're constantly trying to stay ahead of the language. But yes, if you log in and sign up, you're not going to get exact geographic data, but you're going to understand a heck of a lot more about the topics that you're interested in, and who the influencers are, or what we like to call just creators, who the creators are that are driving the most traffic for those topics.
That's awesome, man. I'd love a free trial if you have one.
You get 7 days free.
There you go. There you go. 7 days free at Lunar Crush. Joe, really, really appreciate your time. I mean, I use Lunar Crush all the time. Social metrics as a trader is something you really want to be plugged into, especially if you want to take it seriously. So everybody, everyone in the audience, I do want to point your attention to the tweets in the nest. Definitely give some love to Ortho GG, who did their Shark Tank bit before Lunar Crush, and Lunar Crush's page as well, at Lunar Crush and at Ortho GG. Thank you guys so much for being here. We are going to pivot to our third and final Shark Tank appearance. We have Sugarverse at real_Sugarverse. Sugarverse, you have 90 seconds, and then we'll ask you questions from the panelists. Go ahead.
Hi to everyone. Very interesting space, and I'm glad to be here. My name is Nikolai, and I'm CEO of Sugarverse. We're a gaming studio with 20 years of experience, developed 10 Web2 games, and they're played by over 60 million players. Our next big title release is in the Web3 space called the Sugarverse. We are building an ecosystem of 5 casual Web3 mobile games. With experience in both crypto and gaming, we have identified 2 reasons why Web3 games can't still achieve mass adoption. Their economy is not sustainable, and many of the Web3 games are too complex for normal gamers. With our games, we are trying to solve both. Our study implements different game mechanics, which make our economy sustainable, and we are creating games with simple gameplay. We are looking to reach 1 million players in the next 2 years. We are close to finish with our art team the cutest ever NFT collection, the Sugar Bears. So our NFTs avatars are unlocking the play and turn part of the games. Cool boosters are awaiting the NFT holders and many more surprises as the airdrop of our token. Minting event is gonna happen in April. We have recently become part of the Tezos ecosystem, and we are building our first game on their chain. Sugar Match is a very cool PvP match 3 game with a unique matchmaking algorithm for 3 players. Our alpha is ready, and the global launch is scheduled for Q3.
Awesome. Very, very well done. I'm checking out the website right now. Very colorful, very vibrant. Looks like fun. So can people already get involved right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Currently, they can come in our waiting list. Our alpha is currently in test flight, but I think next month it will be already on the app stores and people could try it.
Amazing, amazing. Can you tell me about, I know you said that there will be a mint coming for a coin. What is the roadmap on the project and the tokenomics involved?
Yeah, I heard that tokenomics is everything for you guys.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so I have previously have experienced in many ICOs, IDOs as an angel investor because me personally I'm very interested in the space. So also for us, tokenomics should be fine and reasonable for all the parties. And we think that early investors they should be benefited because they back up the projects early at the start and they're waiting sometimes years to list the token and to see the product. But we're looking like a minting event of our NFTs to be around April, and we're looking to have our TG event of the token in Q2, maybe May or June.
Wow, so coming this year sounds really good. Can you tell me about some of the partners that you guys have involved, like in like the process of building Sugarverse?
Yeah, so Access Software is the studio that is involved. I already said that it's created in 2006 and have a lot of experience in the space with Web2 games. And from that, we have recently have a partnership with Tezos, and they're helping us a lot and bringing all the efforts to bring our game to their community. We're not going to be only on single chain. We're going to be on a multi-chain. We're partnering also with BNB chain. So we even won their game jam competition back last year. So we're making a lot of partnerships with different launch pads, with different guilds in the space, also with a lot of platforms, because nowadays there are a lot of Web3 platforms, and I wish them all the success. And those are pretty much all the partnerships we are doing now.
Awesome, awesome. Can you tell me more about the game itself, Sugar Match? Looking at it right here on your website, it looks like a pretty fun interactive game. Can you tell me like what the experience is like playing the game?
Yeah, there are different types of game modes, and there's like a single player, which is more likely to be tutorial. There's gonna be a brown mode where you can endlessly farm your items, like new NFTs, farm for more candies, for more tokens, and etc. And also, but the most important is our multiplayer, which we have made it with non-zero sum game mechanic, which enables us to make a profit from the multiplayer because they are not only winners but they are also losers. And this way we are doing our game economy more sustainable and our rewards to be more sustainable in time, because this is one of the problems that we saw, and we hated like user experience in our in the past Web3 games that we have tried.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I really appreciate it. I do want to open it up for a minute for some of the other panelists to ask you some questions. Andrew, do you have anything?
Yeah, no, just to go back, and hopefully I heard you right. I think you said you're launching on Tezos. And I think, having been the CMO of a blockchain, I'm always curious, like, what drove you to that decision? Was it, grants and funding? Did it have to do with, the target user base or kind of consumer that's on there? Like just walk me through your kind of thought process behind that.
Yeah, it's a complex decision. Uh, yeah, of course, we have received a grant from them, but this wasn't our final a thing that we were thinking about when we wanted to become a Tezos partner. They get us a lot of partners from their investors network, and also they're bringing us a lot of marketing effort with us, etc. So I think this community is gonna help us a lot and bring us our initial goals to reality.
Andrew, anything else? You good?
Nope, just wanted to better understand the choice. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Fiddy, you have any questions for Sugarverse?
I do actually. I'm glad you called. So I was actually looking at your timeline. It looks really interesting. Could you kind of give me a comparison, like what kind of games this would be comparing to, like the gaming, like if we were to compare it to some of the AAA games?
You meaning about Web3 games or Web2 games?
Yeah, like Web3 games, like what this would compare to or compete with.
Yeah, of course. So I think we're very similar to Arcade, if you know them. So they have a lot of other casual games in their app, but they differentiate that they're doing all their games in one single app. We're making more like different apps for the different games, but the NFTs and accounts are interconnected via one identification layer. So we think that they're very similar to our project.
Cool. Thank you. I'll check it out and I'll be following you. I'm excited. I'll definitely be looking at you guys in April.
Awesome. Thank you, 50. Joe, you got your hand up. What do you got, bro?
Yeah, hey Sugarverse. I'm always curious when it comes to game. The first question I always have, and I'll ask you is, where's the demand coming for the token? Right? Did a lot of play and earn? That's always the one problem. How are you solving that?
Yeah, so we think a lot about it and how to fix this demand and buying pressure uh, equilibrium. And we're making via our multiplayer, we're making a lot of demand because there is like a buying lobby. So it's like you play a poker game. And to enter this game and to play against other players, you must either buy our tokens or B, you must farm a lot in our single player. So many people are gonna go the short way, and they're just gonna buy our token. And after they buy our token, then we take 7% from all the buy-ins. They're going to our community treasury, and this community treasury is gonna be filled like multiple other income streams, like smaller income streams. And then also there's another utility for our for our token, which is going to be like a governance, and it's not be just like ask them some stupid things that doesn't matter, but they're going to decide how this community treasury is going to where the money are gonna go. So how it is going to be distributed among future rewards, among burning mechanism, among company revenue. So this is another initiative for the token investors to buy our token.
What's the difference between, because when you said community treasury, I thought, okay, that's money that's going to staking, but apparently they're not the same, right? They're different. So what's the staking? Where's that coming from?
So they are not gonna stake it. If you're a holder of our token, you can vote on our about the community treasury. There is gonna be a stake, and the percentage is gonna come from the community treasury. But to vote, it won't be necessary to stake your tokens.
Amar, you had your hand up there for a second. You have a question?
No. Do you have a question for me?
No, we're asking Sugarverse questions.
Yeah, cool.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you, man. Well, that is about time here for the rest of the Shark Tank show. I do really appreciate everybody who came up and gave their pitch for their teams, and for everyone on the panel and everyone in the audience. Thank you guys so much for being here. I will point your attention to the tweets up top there in the nest for Orthogonal at OrthoGG, at Real Sugarverse, it's at Real_Sugarverse, and at Lunar Crush. Thank you guys so much for your participation today. We really appreciate it. My name's AJ Wrights Crypto. Thanks so much for being here on the Shark Tank here today on the Space Mario Space. Had a really good time. Hope you have a safe rest of your day, and get rich or get wrecked. Later.